There's nothing like some real good flavor. Of course, I'm referring to the narrative element that's used to offer a bit of intrigue to a usually interactive piece of media, utilized when you want to add just a touch of world building without vastly altering the entire work. If exposition is the reserved, calculated matriarch just trying to educate you, then flavor is her more effervescent, carefree friend that just wants life to be a bit more fun. Usually thought of as the more common version flavor text, the starting point of the term is mostly credited to the card game Magic the Gathering. The story goes that their cards felt a bit empty to the designers, so the team came up with some extra lore info to add flavor to the bland blank spaces. First referred to as color text, eventually changed to flavor text. Though this happened in the early 90s, the term has been retroactively applied to similar instances of mini lore expansion like what you'd find in old action figure boxes and board games, particularly RPG-based games like the little-known indie sensation Dungeons & Dragons. As more lore-dense electronic games rose to prominence, the idea of flavor text was implemented with them. Now we find it comfortably across all kinds of video games, from unsettling letters in a survival horror game to unsettling entries in a Pokédex. But there's another kind of flavor more suited for the audio-visually dynamic video games we have today. And now, let's get some examples of Our first subject is Stories: The Path of Destinies. Stapod is a narrative action RPG about an ex-warrior, Reynardo, who has a really bad day, followed by a lot of great days, followed by one of his worst days, which results in him rejoining the rebellion against the recently corrupt Emperor Isengrim III. He does this armed only with his old sword and a mysterious book bequeathed to him by Hypatia, his late wife, or girlfriend, or situationship. I don't think it's explicitly stated. With the sword, you as the player help Reynardo fight through the Isles of Boreas, hacking and slashing through wave after wave of Isengrim's Raven soldiers.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
But early on, it becomes quite apparent that Reynardo is out of practice due to all of his years of retirement from the battlefield. All he remembers is truly just hacking and slashing with a smidge of counter tactics. And here is where the game presents a space for him to try to remember his old skills.
Thing was, he hadn't used his hook since he'd retired. Maybe if he meditated at that altar there, he'd remember his old skills.
If you've played a video game in the last 20 years, you probably noticed that this is a standard skill tree that's ubiquitous across the modern gaming world. If you haven't played a video game, I'm really glad you're watching this video anyway. But yeah, skill trees are so common at this point that there's pretty much no reason you have to create an in-universe explanation, but those are also the moments where flavor just really tastes the best. I love the idea that Reynardo meditating at an altar and remembering abilities he used to have as a means of unlocking skills. It's extra cool when considering you unlock the skill points by performing well in battles, so it's like the more Reynardo fights, the more he gets back his muscle memory and starts saying, oh wait, I would usually do this thing as well. And most of the skills fall in line with the theme of reasonably rememberable battle tactics, and they directly acknowledge the unreasonable ones like time manipulation, so we're cool.
Something you never completely forgot, like how to freeze time when attacking.
Consider my disbelief suspended. And at this point, some of you might be asking, well, yeah, that's the sword squared away, but what about that mysterious book you mentioned, San Vessel? Well, after you reach your first ending of the game and right before Reynardo dies, the mysterious book flips back to page 1 and Reynardo finds himself at the beginning of his journey again. Though this time, both he and the player have a written record of what went wrong in his previous path. Yep, we got a looping mechanic. As you start again, the narrator and Reynardo react differently to various situations and choices based off of what's happened before.
Reynardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. Reynardo thought of the Iblis stone and shivered. He had no business messing with ancient, cruel artifacts.
And the goal is now to gather important truths loop after loop that will help Reynardo ultimately make all the right decisions and end up in the right destiny. And the second time around, there's the cool realization that you're writing the book with each decision you make and you're seeing what Reynardo sees. I tend to be a big fan of Groundhog Day type stories, and it's always cool to see a new, unique way to flavor the style. And the layers to this one just really hit for me. And since we're dealing with some meta-narrative stuff here, the narrator never shies away from throwing in some extra flavor bits at no extra cost throughout your gaming experience.
This chest had teaspoon stolen from every inn in Boreas.
Irving still believes in string theory.
It's all very sweet and charming, so let's do a hard turn into something much more upsetting and scathing. Rollerdrome is a skating shooter where you play as a promising rookie from the junior Rollerdrome circuit, making her professional debut in the major leagues. The titular sport is a classic futuristic deathmatch combining brutality with commercialized spectacle. House players are posted up across the various arenas with different lethal loadouts, and you as the competitor must defeat all of them to win. All the while doing some sweet roller skating tricks, of course. It's also worth noting this game takes place in 2030. Definitely call in worldwide Bloodsport a lot earlier than most sci-fi stories like this, but I also don't really blame them. The game is split between high-tension arena battles where fights for her life and walk-around intervals between the different brackets of competition. During the latter segments, you can just pass through and enter the next arena, but you also have the option to explore the green room areas you're in and interact with different things. And here is where they store the flavor, as well as majority of the plotline as a whole. The bit I think about often, which largely inspired me to make this video in the first place, deals with the reload system. In the intro tutorial, you're taught that doing tricks is how you reload. There's a big variety of tricks to do, and chaining them together equals more ammunition. And I gave zero consideration to the logic there, as I'm sure most players would. Sure, doing tricks refills your loadouts because video game. Same reason we don't question wall chicken. But in the first interval zone you're in, one of the interactables is a slide projector. It offers quick facts about the sport from the demented corporation Matterhorn that's recently acquired the Rollerdrome Federation. And one of the fact sheets is that they've integrated a system where judges observing the matches can wirelessly donate bullets to you if they're impressed by your performance and want to see more carnage.
Do a kickflip. Do a Bertleman. Do a slappy. Do a drop in. Do a soul grind. Do a kickflip.
That is such a perfectly jacked up extra detail to put in for a function no one would question. You also get the backstory that the trick tokens that multiply your score were implemented for similar reasons. Yeah, the audience is showing up for the brutalizations, but come on, do a sick front flip too, we're having fun here. Little grim humor additions like those really help fill out the tone of the game as a whole. And I will emphasize these are little moments. This is definitely a bleak game with some harsh societal critiques going on at its core. It feels really good to play because it's very well made, but you as a person may not feel good, what with all the gut punches and such. But hey, like I said, a lot of the lore is optional. You can always just rush through the transitional areas, ignore all the greater implications of your actions and what you're participating in, and get back to the fun parts. Just like real life. Let's move on before I have to think about that too much. Coral Island is billed as a farming simulator, but aligning with the modern state of the farming sim, there's a lot more going on than just livestock and harvesting crops. There's diving, mining, fishing, woodland spirits, dating, weirdly casual sci-fi, put a pin in that for a later video, foraging, fashion, decorating, quests, festivals, and about 10 bajillion other things going on. But as one would hope with this genre, the farming is the well-executed central concept, and it is in fact very soothing and satisfying, which was kind of weird to me because I've never been really interested in farming sims before this one, but this one being called Coral Island did do some heavy lifting for my intrigue as an islander. You can just never doubt the power of "They remind me of home." There's even a plotline about a mainland corporation moving in, disrupting the economy, and attempting to deplete your island of its natural resources under the guise of helpful modernization. That hits a little too close to home. Sorry, we switched over to this for the fun stuff. Let's get back to that. You can trade bronze ingots for a chicken coop, call it Spectrum Ban, and adopt chickens to name Chunkus and Bartleby, who you can then pet every day. You can make Yuri romance develop in a place called Monkey Lane. You can dematerialize its stone altars to immediately transport to the offering ground of the flower goddess. What? why are you able to do that? I kinda brushed by it earlier, but yes, this game has a fantasy undercurrent, pun completely intended in reference to the Mermaid Society. The idea enters the story early on, but if you don't rigidly follow the main quests, which is very likely since there's 10 bajillion things to do in this game, you can end up with super long stretches of normal farm life in between sudden fantasy arcs. A side effect of this is the flavor of the game's fast travel waypoints. There's a lake temple you're introduced to where you speak with the weakened voice of the goddess of flowers. She explains that by giving offerings from the natural world, you will receive her blessings, as well as heal Coral Island as a whole from the rot consuming it. The first reward you get is the opening up of instant travel between her shrines, which also serves as a place to receive a mini blessing. The more you become one with the island and those in it, the more shrines you gain access to. As with Path of Destinies and their skill trees, it's a beautiful amount of explanation being put into an industry mainstay. I also love that it could have been attuned to the more prominent farming tone of the game, but they went with the fantasy angle. Like it could have just been you riding a bike or something, but now we get the wonder of living weeks of regular farm life assisted by a sudden tornado flower of fast travel power. It's even implied that like 95% of the other inhabitants of Coral Island are completely unaware of any of this being real. There's funny conversations every once in a while, like people thinking the one character Alice is weird because she thinks aliens might exist, and you just nod solemnly even though you just talked with literal giants and swam with mermaids yesterday. In a more classic way, there's also tons of items in the game that have flavor text attached. Most of them are pretty standard, but every once in a while you get something like Monster Essence, which asks you the question, is it their insides or their souls? Dude, I can't get into that right now. I'm just trying to sell some pumpkins, okay? I'll let Sam's Grocery worry about that. But all in all, yeah, it's just a very nice mystical farming sim with a great attention to detail for the whole family. I would definitely recommend it if you just want something to chill out to at the end of the day. West of Dead. Health packs are the main character drinking from a flask, just so perfectly edgy in the best way, even paired with a bartender at the end of each stage to offer you a refill. Alto's Adventure / Odyssey. All of your cool upgrades are built by your friend Izzle, who still charges you full price to use them. Slay the Princess. Everything. This game is perfect. Everything. Scribblenauts. You're not just typing words onto a keyboard, you're actually using the magic of Maxwell's notebook to bring things to life. All the weapon flavor texts in Ninjin Clash of Carrots. Pause to allow pausing to read them. Wait, was I supposed to read that part? Alcohol being flavored in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp as vacation juice. That's just too brilliant. And this could go on forever because there's so many wonderful examples out there, but here I'll just ask you to tell me some of your favorite flavor / flavor text moments in gaming. Thank you very much for watching. I have a Patreon in the description if you want to support me, and I hope you have a good day. I wanted to say flavorful day, but I realized I shouldn't, but I mean, I guess I still did. Just, okay, whatever, goodbye.